The interrogation. Minjun didn't return to his office. He drove straight to a secure, unmarked location in Gangnam, a discreet safe house managed by Director Han. The files on Aisha/Madame Zara, meticulously pulled by Han's team, were spread across a steel table. "Oasis Global is impenetrable, sir," Han reported, his face grim. "It's registered in 3 different offshore locations. Every director is a proxy. We traced the initial seed capital back to a substantial severance package received 10 years ago, precisely the amount Chairman Kim documented paying Aisha." Welcome back, story lovers! Kofi and Dahai, the identical twins and undeniable sons of CEO Kim Minjun. He was a blind pawn in his own father's decade-old cruelty. Minjun's world collapsed as he realized the woman he believed had betrayed him was actually fleeing a threat against their unborn children. The episode closed with an electric showdown at the Han River, where Aisha, protective and fiercely unforgiving, warned Minjun away. But a mysterious, anonymous message has pushed Minjun to make a choice that pits him directly against his powerful father. In Part 2, the corporate war turns into a dangerous game of family betrayal. Minjun must dig into the lies of the past to redeem himself, but how far will he go to protect his secret sons from the very family that tried to erase them? The price of loyalty is about to be paid. Let's dive in. Aisha 10 years ago, thin, terrified. Then Aisha 5 years ago, launching a small, successful hedge fund in London. And finally, Aisha now, the conqueror. What about the personal details? A gap in her life for 3 years after leaving Seoul, then London, then Paris. And the boys, Kofi and Dahai. We found birth records in Dakar, Senegal. Their mother is listed as Aisha Zara. Father's name, blank. Han paused, his voice softening. "Sir, they were born exactly 9 months after you last saw her." Minjun stared at the birth certificate, the official proof of his decade of failure. Dakar. She chose to build her fortress far away. Tell me about the threat. Did she ever contact him? Only once. A letter from an anonymous legal firm demanding a quiet settlement for an unnamed personal injury 6 years ago. The chairman filed it under nuisance and ignored it. He was completely unaware of the twins until yesterday. Minjun pushed the files away. This confirms it. He lied about the photos, lied about her demanding money, and then threatened the life of my unborn children. He used my own love for her to secure his corporate interests. He looked up at Han, his eyes colder than the Seoul rain. The chairman's plans for the twins are already in motion. He will try to secure them and use them against Aisha. Your new loyalty is not to the Kim Group, Director Han. It is to me and to those 2 boys. I need eyes on Aisha and the twins 24/7, discreetly. If anyone approaches them, you stop them, especially anyone sent by my father. Understood, Mr. Kim. But sir, the chairman is your father. He ceased to be my father the moment he tried to erase my family, Minjun said, the conviction absolute. Now, about that anonymous message. Run a deep trace on the burner phone. I want to know who is playing this dangerous game. Someone is feeding me information to push me against him. The surgical strike. Aisha was back in the penthouse, sipping jasmine tea while watching the legal feed on her wall-sized monitor. The Kim Group stock was dipping, not crashing, but bleeding steadily as the news of the aggressive acquisitions circulated. Jay, her assistant, walked in holding a small silver frame. "Your mother's photo, madam. The team insisted we place it where you can see it." Aisha smiled, a genuine flicker of warmth. "Thank you, Jay. The memory of my mother taught me that a woman's power is in her resilience, not her vulnerability." "The stock, madam. It's ready for the strike." Pride and image. She pulled out a small, intricately folded document. "Execute this. I want a simultaneous release to the Wall Street Journal and the Korean financial media. It's a formal, public, legal challenge to the chairman's original appointment, citing unethical corporate governance and illegal misuse of company funds, the money he used to pay me off 10 years ago. It's all documented as a miscellaneous expense. We expose his original lie as a corporate crime. Jay's eyes widened. That is a nuclear option, madam. It targets the chairman directly. The stock will plummet. Exactly. It shows the board they are being led by a criminal, and it shows Minjun that I hold the proof of his father's manipulation. I need him to see that his father and the entire structure he protects is rotten to the core. Aisha looked at the photo of her mother, then at the city. I want him to have to choose between saving the company his father built on lies and saving the 2 boys his father tried to eliminate. That is the price of his loyalty. The rendezvous of secrets. Later that night, the traced burner phone signal led Minjun to a secluded traditional tea house on the outskirts of Seoul. The location was safe, heavily shielded from electronic surveillance. He walked into a private room. Waiting for him was Kim Sora, his younger sister, clutching a teacup so tightly her knuckles were white. "Sora, you sent the message?" Minjun demanded, his voice low with disbelief. She nodded, tears streaming silently down her face. "I saw the twins in the security still you projected. Minjun, I knew those eyes. I know the look of a terrified mother." "What does that mean?" "If Aisha didn't leave, the babies would be taken care of. He threatened to terminate the pregnancy through a forced complication." The world tilted for Minjun. He wasn't just lied to, he was complicit by his silence in an attempted murder. The raw, gut-wrenching shame was immediate and unbearable. "Why didn't you tell me?" he rasped. "Father, he watches everything. He convinced me that Aisha was just lying to protect herself. He told me the children would have ruined the family, ruined you. I was 16, Minjun. I believed him. But yesterday, seeing Kofi and Dahai, I couldn't let him hurt them again." Sora slid a small USB drive across the table. "This is a recorded conversation from a security bug I placed in Father's phone months ago, before this started. He is talking to stepmother Park about the twins. Listen to it. It's everything you need to know about what he plans to do next." Minjun grasped the drive. "Thank you, Sora. You may have just saved their lives." "I'm not doing this for you, Oppa," Sora whispered, meeting his eyes with genuine sadness. "I'm doing this for Aisha. She deserves the truth, and those boys deserve a father who fights for them. If Father finds out I told you, I'm ruined. Please, hurry." The corporate Tusani. The next morning, the legal filing hit. The news was instant, seismic. The Kim Group's stock plunged 35% in the first hour of trading. Minjun was in the boardroom, facing a panic-stricken board of directors who were now questioning the chairman's solvency. The smell of fear was thick in the air. "The accusation is baseless," Chairman Kim roared from the head of the table, his face mottled with fury and disbelief. "This is defamation. We will sue her into bankruptcy." "We can't, Father," Minjun said calmly, pulling the attention of the room to himself. He played the ultimate double agent, using the truth to destroy his father's credibility. The transaction for the severance package is documented as a large, miscellaneous corporate expenditure. Madam Zara is using that technicality to argue illegal use of company funds. It's not baseless, it's a brilliant legal strategy. "You will neutralize her holdings, now!" the chairman shrieked. Minjun looked at the board, then directly at his father. "I cannot. We are currently facing the threat of a full financial audit by the government because of this filing. We are hemorrhaging credibility." He then delivered his final corporate strike, the one Aisha hadn't anticipated. He used his sister's information to gain the high ground. "The only way to contain the damage is to publicly show that we are purging the unethical practices this firm represents," Minjun stated, his voice ringing with false authority. "I am calling for an emergency vote of no confidence against the current chairman, effective immediately." A horrified silence fell over the room. "Minjun, you dare?" the chairman sputtered, standing up, his face purple with betrayal. I dared to save the company you built, father. I will not let you destroy the Kim name with your personal vendettas. Minjun held up the USB drive. I have evidence of further ethical lapses that would certainly lead to both your indictment and the complete collapse of this group. Resign now, or I will use this evidence to have you removed, and the scandal will be 10 times worse. The board, terrified of government intervention and total financial ruin, watched Minjun with a new respect. They saw a ruthless leader sacrificing his father for the survival of the empire. Beaten and utterly betrayed, the chairman sank back into his chair, a defeated man. "You have ruined me, Minjin," he whispered. "You ruined yourself, father," Minjin replied, devoid of pity. The meeting is adjourned. The chairman is stripped of his title, and assets are frozen pending audit. I am the acting CEO. The door clicked shut behind the defeated executives. Minjin was now the CEO. He had sacrificed his father, but he still hadn't won back his family. The true price. Aisha watched the news report of Minjun's coup from her penthouse. Minjin Kim had just taken control of the Kim group and publicly denounced his father. "He chose the company over his father," Jay observed, a classic corporate move. Aisha didn't look convinced. No, that wasn't just corporate. That was personal and brutal. He used the chaos I created to seize control and protect the assets that matter to him. Her eyes narrowed. He still hasn't chosen the boys. The doorbell rang. Jade checked the security screen. "It's him, madam, alone." Aisha nodded, a cold dread mixing with a desperate hope. "Let him in." Minjin entered the lounge looking exhausted but dangerous. He held nothing, no toys, no briefcase. He simply placed the USB drive on the table. "I heard the tape, Aisha," he said, his voice flat with self-hatred. "Sora gave it to me. I know the truth. He lied about the money, the staged photo, and the attempted threat to our children 10 years ago." He finally met her gaze. "I am sorry, Aisha, for believing him over you, for my weakness, for the 10 years I let him steal from us. I just deposed him. I am now the CEO, and the Kim Group is no longer his shield." Aisha remained standing, her expression unreadable. "A convenient truth, Minjin. You save your empire, then apologize to the mother of your children. It doesn't change the fact that you chose a lie over love then, and you chose the chairmanship over the truth now." "I chose to save the company so he couldn't use it against you and the boys," Minjin exploded, taking a desperate step towards her. "This company is what he cares about, and I just took it away. I have destroyed the father that made me betray you. What more do you want?" Aisha stepped back, a single tear cutting a path through the frost on her face. "I want you to be the father you should have been, Minton. I want you to look me in the eye and tell me that if you had known the truth 10 years ago, you would have risked the destruction of the Kim name to stand by me." Minjin couldn't speak. He would have been ruined. He would have been cut off. He wouldn't have been the CEO. He was, for a moment, the frightened boy again. Aisha saw the hesitation, and it was her final answer. "That is the price of your loyalty, Minjin," she whispered, picking up the USB drive. "You chose the company then, and now you have the chairmanship. But you will not have my sons. The war is over for the Kim Group, but it has just begun for Kofi and Dahai." She walked toward the door, her composure absolute. "You want to be a father? Prove it. You have destroyed your father. Now destroy the legacy of the Kim name that hurts your sons. Until then, you are not family." She opened the door and walked out, leaving Minjin standing alone in his triumph, now realizing his victory was his most devastating loss. Oasis Global sells Kim Group shares to rival SCORPIN Tech, $1.2 billion profit. Aisha didn't want the chairmanship. She wanted to hurt the Kim Group, secure a massive fortune, and leave Minjin to deal with the chaos and his new corporate enemy. She is leaving Seoul. Minjin slams his hand on the desk, the betrayal burning hotter than revenge. He has the company, but Aisha has his children and their hearts. He must follow her. The abandoned throne. The news alert announcing the sale of the Kim Group shares to Scorpion Tech hung like a venomous cloud over Minjin's desk. Aisha hadn't wanted the empire. She had used it as a weapon to wound his family and extract the maximum financial and emotional damage. Now, he was the new CEO of a company immediately facing a hostile takeover threat from a major, aggressive competitor. His phone rang. It was Director Han. "Sir, the board is in a frenzy. Scorpion Tech is led by a man named Jang Hyo-sik. He's a shark. He's already issued a public statement questioning the Kim Group's stability after the recent family drama. Chained to the company, fighting a corporate war." But Aisha's parting words, "You will not have my sons," were a physical ache in his chest. "Han," Minjin said, his voice slow and heavy with finality. "Contact the board. Effective immediately, I am stepping down as CEO. I'll appoint Director Choi as interim leader. I want you to manage the transition and keep my father contained. He doesn't leave the compound. Tell the board I'm taking an extended leave of absence to address the destabilization." Han was stunned. "Sir, with all due respect, you just won. You can't leave the company to the wolves." "I'm not leaving the company, Han. I'm leaving the cage," Minjin retorted, standing up. "The only thing that matters is not the Kim Group. It's Kofi and Dahai. They are in danger, not from my father now, but from the enemies my father's cruelty created, and I will not lose them again. Prepare a secure travel itinerary for me. Find out where Oasis Global transferred that $1.2 billion immediately. That money will be our first trail." Minjin walked out of the office he had fought so ruthlessly to acquire, leaving the company's future hanging by a thread. His redemption wouldn't be won in a boardroom. He had chosen his sons. Aisha and the twins were already on a private plane bound for Paris, their first step in a pre-planned multi-continental escape route. Kofi was asleep, but Dahai was awake, sketching intently in his worn drawing book. "Yama, is the angry man still angry?" Dahai asked quietly, not looking up. Aisha stroked his head. "He is confused, my love, but he is a good man, deep down. That is why we must stay ahead of him." She spoke into her satellite phone to Jay, who was still coordinating from Seoul. "The sale to Scorpion Tech is complete?" "Yes, madame. $1.2 billion deposited, and Mr. Jang Hyo-sik is now the Kim Group's largest threat. Minjin is now facing a full-scale corporate siege. My team confirms he is now pursuing you. He just resigned the CEO post." Aisha went still. He resigned. The news was a devastating shock to her carefully constructed narrative. She had counted on his corporate loyalty to keep him tethered to Seoul. He actually chose us? The realization pierced her armor, flooding her with a dangerous mix of relief and renewed determination to protect the boys from his inevitable, clumsy attempt to be a father. "Adjust the itinerary," Aisha commanded, hardening her voice. "He will trace the $1.2 billion. Divert half of it through 4 separate ghost accounts, then consolidate it into the primary trust in the Seychelles. We are changing our destination from Paris to Zurich. He's looking for a mother in flight. I need him to find a magnate at a financial conference." She looked at her drawing son. "Dahai, are you drawing the angry man?" Daha shook his head, holding up the book. It was a picture of the lighthouse, but instead of the ball, there was a small, crudely drawn wooden dolphin. He hadn't drawn anger. He had drawn sadness and a gift. Aisha's resolve flickered. Minjin hadn't been the stone-cold betrayer she had trained herself to hate for a decade. He was a hurt man who had just risked everything. That made him even more dangerous. Minjun landed in Paris 12 hours later following the initial transfer records. He was no longer dressed in expensive Kim suits, opting for discreet, dark travel attire. Director Han's call woke him in his secure hotel room. "The money trail is cold, sir. Aisha executed a professional money laundering sequence. The $1.2 billion split and vanished, but we found something else, a pattern." "What kind of pattern?" "A discreet, well-regarded international school and proximity to an international financial hub. Based on the flight plan data we intercepted before she diverted, I project her next stop will be Zurich, Switzerland. It fits the profile: finance, discretion, and top-tier schools." "Book the flight, Han. And what about Scorpion Tech? Tell me about Jang Hyoshik." "Jang Hyoshik is notorious for being cold and thorough. He's taking advantage of the chaos, but he's not emotional. He's only interested in money. He views the Kim Group as a distressed asset." Minjun paused. "No, Jang Hyoshik isn't just about money." "The photos my father used to lie to me, the ones showing Aisha meeting with a man at a cafe?" Minjun asked. "Who was that man?" Han checked his files. That man was an internal investigator. The reports say he was paid by the chairman to follow Aisha, but he was employed by a different firm first. He was on retainer for a finance company before the chairman poached him. Minjun's eyes narrowed. "Which company?" Han checked again. "Scorpion Tech, sir, back when they were still called Hyoshik Investments." Aisha's revenge was meticulously orchestrated, but the stage was set by Jang Hyoshik, the man now trying to dismantle the Kim Group. Jang Hyoshik didn't just buy shares. He was involved in the original scheme 10 years ago. He helped stage the initial betrayal, then profited from the final act of revenge. This is not corporate opportunism. This is calculated, high-stakes revenge aimed at the entire Kim legacy. Minjun felt a chilling dread. His new enemy was not just a corporate rival. He was a silent partner in the decade-old betrayal. Aisha and the boys were settled in a luxurious, isolated chalet high in the Swiss Alps near Zurich. She needed a moment of calm before her next move. She was distracted, watching the news of Minjun's resignation, trying to reconcile the ruthless man she hated with the desperate father who had chosen his children over his empire. The soft chime of the security alert broke her concentration. Perimeter breach. "Jay," she whispered into her earpiece. "Impossible, madame. The perimeter is locked." A shadow fell over the snow-dusted window. Minjun stood there, not having breached the gate, but having scaled the side of the mountain using a private access road she hadn't known existed. He was covered in snow, freezing, and utterly determined. He walked into the chalet, his eyes immediately finding the twins who were building a fortress with blankets in the living room. "Aisha, you need to stop running," Minjun said, his breath fogging in the crisp alpine air. "This isn't just about the Kim Group anymore. Your final buyer, Scorpion Tech, their CEO, Jang Hyoshik, he was involved in my father's lies 10 years ago. He is targeting us all, using your revenge as the catalyst for his own." Aisha stared at him, the hatred and fear momentarily forgotten, replaced by chilling shock. "Jang Hyoshik?" "He provided the investigator, Aisha, the man who staged the photos. He built the foundations of our separation, and now he profits from our war. He is the true architect of the last decade of pain." Minjun walked forward, his focus solely on her. "You hate me, and you have every right, but I just abandoned everything, the name, the power, the company, to prove my loyalty is to our children. I need you to trust me now, not as the boy who betrayed you, but as the father who will fight with you. We have a common enemy who is more dangerous than my father ever was." Aisha looked at the desperate honesty in his eyes, the undeniable truth of his sacrifice. She looked at the twins who were watching them silently. Her fortress of rage and certainty finally crumbled. "He's right, Yama," Kofi spoke up, pointing a small finger at the window, where the first of Jang Hyoshik's black SUVs was now slowly ascending the mountain road. "More angry men are coming." Aisha's face turned to pure stone. The personal fight was over. The combined power of their shared enemies was descending upon them. "Jay, prepare the extraction," Aisha commanded, reaching for a coat. She looked at Minjin, her eyes fierce. "Fine, Minjin, we fight. But if you betray me or our sons again, I will not just destroy your company, I will end you." She placed the gun she retrieved from the coat on the table, a gesture of both warning and alliance. The hunt was over, and the war was finally united. Minjin and Aisha are trapped in a Swiss chalet, facing a siege led by the true enemy, Jang Hyo-shik, the architect of their decade of pain. The only path to survival is a desperate alliance. The Alkine Siege. The black SUVs of Scorpion Tech were slow, methodical, and chillingly silent as they ascended the mountain. Inside the chalet, the atmosphere was volatile, a desperate blend of fear, strategy, and residual resentment. Aisha grabbed her high-powered satellite phone. "Jay, abort the Zurich extraction. Initiate Protocol Phoenix. We need a clean exit point on the southern ridge. 5 minutes." Minjin was already securing the windows, his professional calm returning as danger mounted. He looked at the gun on the table, then at Aisha. "You have surveillance in the area?" "I have assets everywhere, but they are minutes away. We have 4 minutes until Jang's men reach the clearing. Your father taught you to fight dirty. Use it." Minjin nodded. He grabbed a fire extinguisher and a heavy crystal vase. "Kofi, Dahai, this is a game now. You are secret agents. Go into the utility closet and don't make a sound, no matter what you hear." The twins, thrilled by the sudden transformation of their mother and the angry man into agents, obeyed instantly, their faces alight with focused excitement. The first sound was the crunch of tires stopping outside. Minjin met Aisha's gaze. They were standing shoulder to shoulder, not as CEO and magnate, but as two people fighting for the same goal, their sons. The shared danger was an intoxicating, terrifying bond. "Jang orchestrated everything," Minjin whispered, his voice thick with a decade of wasted emotion. "He took 10 years of our lives. He wanted the Kim group to collapse so he could pick up the pieces. We are collateral damage." "Then we use his greed against him," Aisha said, her eyes flashing with renewed fury. She reached out and, with the precision of habit, adjusted the collar of his shirt, a gesture she hadn't realized she still remembered. "He expects us to surrender or fight. We're going to distract him." The door exploded inward. Minjin simultaneously hurled the vase into the hallway and fired the extinguisher into the faces of the intruders, creating a blinding, chaotic snowstorm of foam. "South Ridge, go!" he shouted, grabbing Aisha's hand. They bolted towards the rear of the chalet. The passion of their escape was electric. Minjin kicked out a rear window, shattering the glass. Aisha, without hesitation, jumped onto his back. "The slope is icy. Hold on," Minjin yelled, sliding down the steep embankment behind the chalet, using his hands as makeshift brakes. The sound of gunfire from the chalet was instantly muffled by the rush of wind. They reached the waiting helicopter just as Jang's men found the broken window. As the chopper lifted off, Aisha looked down. Minjin's father had taught him control and corporate dominance. Aisha had just taught him how to survive. The truth on the edge. Mid-flight, Minjin held Aisha's hand, the shared adrenaline still coursing between them. The twins, nestled together and giggling about the foam attack, were the only witnesses to the true reason for their flight. "Jang Hyo-sik's weakness is his reputation," Aisha explained, her voice steady despite the rapid breathing. "He believes he's untouchable. He uses proxies, silence, and financial ruin. This brazen attack means he is desperate to silence us before we expose his involvement in the chairman's unethical past." Minjin looked at her, his heart pounding. "You were right all along, Aisha. I was so arrogant in my grief, so convinced of my own pain, I couldn't see the truth. I let him poison me against the only woman I ever loved." He reached out and gently touched her cheek, his thumb brushing away a streak of grime from the escape. "When I saw your hesitation on the riverside, I thought you wanted me to beg, but you wanted me to choose. I choose you, Aisha. I choose Kofi and Dahai. I resigned the chairmanship. I left the Kim name behind. It means nothing without you." Aisha stared into his eyes, seeing the man she had loved a decade ago, stripped of the Kim armor. The betrayal was still there, a scar on their history, but the passion that had been buried for 10 years, fueled by shared danger and Minjin's sacrifice, reignited in a powerful, undeniable rush. "I took the money, Minjin," she admitted, her voice low. "Not for myself, but to build a shield for them. The price of their survival was making you hate me. I needed you to believe I was a gold digger, so you wouldn't come looking, so you wouldn't die trying to save us from your father." Minjin pulled her to him, their kiss desperate and profound, a moment of shared pain, forgiveness, and the raw, untamed passion of two people finding their way back to each other across a decade of lies. The helicopter landed on a secure military airfield in Rome. Aisha and Minjin left the twins with Jay, an expanded security team. It was time for the final move. Aisha had used her corporate might to hurt the Kim Group. Now, Minjin would use the Kim Group's secrets to destroy Jang Hyo-sik. Jang is preparing a press conference in Seoul to announce the full hostile takeover of the Kim Group, Minjin revealed. "He believes he has us cornered. He's overplayed his hand. He is going to expose the family drama and use it to justify the takeover," Aisha concluded. "We need to expose him first." Minjin smiled, the old corporate shark back, but this time fighting for justice, not profit. "I kept one thing when I resigned, my position as the major shareholder, a trust I've controlled since I turned 25. I'm calling an emergency shareholders meeting in Rome, right under his nose, before his press conference." Aisha didn't hesitate. She grabbed her laptop and started typing furiously. "I'll leak the wire transfer receipts proving Jang Hyo-sik's company paid the investigator who framed me 10 years ago. I'll frame it as corporate espionage and racketeering, not family drama. He won't be able to buy his way out of that." Justice and a new beginning. Jang Hyo-sik stood confidently on the stage in Seoul, ready to announce his complete hostile takeover of the Kim Group, gloating over the fall of the Kim empire. Suddenly, a massive screen behind him flickered to life, showing Minjin and Aisha side by side addressing a small but high-profile group of international shareholders in Rome. "Good morning, Mr. Jang," Minjin's voice boomed across the global feed. "I have resigned my position, but I retain my title as the largest shareholder. I am here with my wife, Aisha, to announce the immediate suspension of all trading concerning the Kim Group and Scorpion Tech." Aisha stepped forward, her gaze lethal. "Jang Hyo-sik did not acquire our shares legally. 10 years ago, he engaged in corporate espionage, blackmail, and racketeering to manipulate the Kim Group from the outside. We have submitted full documentation to international authorities detailing his firm's payment to the investigator who staged the photos used to separate me from my husband." As the screen flashed the financial receipts, Jang Hyo-sik's face drained of color. The boardroom erupted into chaos. The stock exchange was immediately halted, and Jang Hyo-sik was surrounded by his own frantic legal team. His reputation and his company were instantly ruined. Days later, Minjin and Aisha stood on the deck of a private yacht, watching the Mediterranean sunset. The Kim Group was stable but restructured, and the chairman was quietly stripped of all influence. Jang Hyo-sik was facing a global fraud investigation. Kofi, Dahi, Yama, and the man who was now simply Papa. Minjin knelt, his eyes shining with unshed tears. "That's a beautiful picture, my sons." "Are you still an angry man, Papa?" asked. Minjin looked at Aisha, then back at his boys, his voice full of peace. "No, Kofi. I am a man who finally knows what he loves and who knows where he belongs." Aisha knelt beside him, resting her head on his shoulder. They had fought a corporate war of revenge, only to find that the ultimate redemption wasn't in wealth or power, but in the family they almost lost. They had finally paid the price of loyalty, and it was worth every painful moment. The end. And that concludes our gripping two-part saga, The CEO's Secret Twins. From the relentless reign of Seoul to the serene slopes of the Swiss Alps, we witnessed a story of love, betrayal, and high-stakes corporate warfare. Aisha came back for revenge, but ultimately, Minjin's sacrifice, walking away from the empire to fight for his sons, proved the only currency that mattered. They faced down a decade of lies, confronted the ghosts of Chairman Kim's cruelty, and together they dismantled the true architect of their pain, Jang Hyosik. In the end, their passion was reignited, not in luxury, but in the trenches of survival, forging a powerful, united front for their family. Minjin and Aisha proved that the greatest redemption isn't found in a boardroom, but in choosing the truth, and that the only legacy worth fighting for is the love of your children. Thank you so much for subscribing, sharing, and commenting on every twist and turn of this epic tale. We hope you enjoyed seeing the cold CEO and the vengeful magnate finally find peace, forgiveness, and a lasting future together. If you loved this story of corporate drama and forbidden love, be sure to check out our other series. Until next time, keep those pages turning.